Good morning, class, or afternoon as the case may be. This is the third video in comparative religion. This we are discussing in this particular video, Hinduism as an example of the class and caste system, as an example of how society and religion inform each other. There are two previous videos, each 15 minutes long. I've converted to a new system. Hopefully I can do 30-minute videos. We'll see how that works out here. But in the meantime, let me comment what we've covered so far. The first video introduced you to the concept of how religion and society are interrelated. Then we began Hinduism and the class system. And we talked about the Dalits, and then we introduced the classes and the caste. I believe it was the second video that went into more detail on the class and caste system, describing the difference between those two ideas, and talked about the problem of the class system, the problems generated by this idea that there's a fixed class system that everybody had to belong to. And we introduced the concepts of karma and the idea of samsara. So let me review those two key ideas. Karma is the idea that everything you do, every action, has some response, has some energy, if you will, attached to it, and that energy is attached to you and goes with you. It might go with you in the present life. It may affect you in the next life. This means that whatever you do goes with you, and what you are now is a result of your past karma. As I said, this means that in Hinduism there's no such thing as right, and there's no such thing as injustice, because what you are, what has happened to you, is a result of your past life, and you deserve it. This is a cycle, samsara, a cycle that you cannot escape, and nothing can get you out of that. So we want to begin to talk about the next problem, and this is where our video properly begins, and this is the solution to this problem. So we've had a number of problems. We began with the class system. The explanation or the solution to the class system is samsara and karma. You are in your class because of your karma. Your karma dictates what class you and caste you are born into. But that also seems like a problem, that you're in this samsara, you're in this cycle of life. Let me just go back to remind you about how that is spelled. So there's samsara here, and you're trapped in it no matter what you do. So that's a problem. And so now we want to discuss about the solution to the problem. And you want to follow along in your textbook here if you have it available, whether on a digital device or perhaps in paper copy. The basic solution to this problem of karma and samsara, that you are trapped on the cycle of life, the solution to that problem is called liberation or moksha. You want to be free from the cycle of life. I will repeat this later on, but please bear in mind that the idea of liberation is totally different than we have in the West, especially those of us who are informed by Christianity. In the West, we want to be saved. In the West, we want to live forever. We want to die, go to a place of bliss. We don't want to go to the bad place of hell. We want to be free, and we want to see our loved ones, so forth and so on. That is salvation in at least a Christian concept, a popular Christian concept. In Hinduism, it's just the opposite. They do not want to live forever. They want to be free. They want to get off the cycle of life. They want to stop existing. So it's not living forever. Liberation is to be free from the cycle of life. How do you do that? Two primary modes. First of all is asceticism. Asceticism is the idea of self-denial. If any of you are Catholic Christians, you might be practicing some form of Lent right now. That's a form of asceticism. You're giving up something. So you give up food, or at least fancy food. You give up entertainment. You live in simple clothing. You don't need a fancy house. You don't have a lot of material well-being. So asceticism is a state of physical self-denial, giving up the needs of the body and the senses to the best, greatest degree possible. The second way of liberation is meditation. If asceticism is the self-denial of the body, then meditation is the self-denial of the psyche or soul or mind. Just like our body demands stuff, keeps wanting stuff, keeps needing stuff, food, sexual pleasure, comfortable clothing, a warm, comfortable house. That's for the body, but the mind also needs stuff. The mind needs information. You're worried about the coronavirus. You might be bored at home. What can I do next? How can I entertain myself? What music do I want to listen to? Can I read something or maybe watch something on Netflix? All that is, you might say, junk food for the soul. Junk food for the mind. Your mind demands some information, entertainment. An old-fashioned word is diversion. You want to be diverted. You want something to entertain you and take up your time as you're bored at home because you can't go out to be with friends or a bar or whatever you like to do, see a movie, etc. So meditation is self-denial for the mind. You give up all this stuff that your mind wants. You quiet yourself. You sit. You try to empty your mind of all of this junk food, as it were, of the soul. Now, liberation requires asceticism and meditation because we are attached to desire. We are attached to ourselves, our sense of who we are. So again, the kind of movies you like. Do you like science fiction? Do you like horror movies? Do you like drama? Do you like romance? That's your desire. Do you like certain foods? Do you like to hang out with your friends at the bar? That's all you, who you are. It's defined by your desire. And the only way that you can achieve liberation is to achieve non-attachment. Give up your attachment to your desires. In my case, I like chocolate. I like hot sauce. I like my Prius. I like money. I'm all concerned about the money I'm losing in my IRA. So I need to give up my attachment to money or give up my attachment to, let's say, chocolate. I need to stop wanting those things. Liberation is found through self-denial. Self-denial of physical needs and self-denial of mental needs. Needs for mental stimulation. How do we get there? Let me begin, if you have your textbook available, let me begin by looking at page 58. Top of page 58, it says, He, the highest person, who is awake in us while we are sleeping, shaping one lovely sight after another. That indeed is the bright, or the spirit. There is one ruler, the self within all things, who makes the one form manifold. So what is this self? This self is a transcendent reality who makes the one form manifold. When you understand that everything that is the manifold, the multiple sensations, when everything that is comes from this ultimate self, then you are finally free. When you stop imagining that yourself is important, that your wants and your needs. Maybe you have a loved one with coronavirus and you're all concerned. When you give up your individual self and you realize that the real self is this thing called Atman. Go back to the bottom of page 57. And I'll read what I wrote there. It is the truth. If the true self was not the self as we understand it in European American psychology, then what was it? The self, Atman, was a universal self. Atman was the self of all things, the self of everything. The Hindu way of saying this is Brahman is Atman. So when you understand that yourself is Brahman, that the true self is this Brahman. Remember what Brahman is from the very beginning of the semester, almost the very beginning, right after we dealt with the Huichol Indians and pilgrimage. Brahman is ultimate reality. When you understand the identity between Atman, the true self, and ultimate reality, you are free. Why are you free? Because you're not hanging on to your self-identity. You're not imagining that you are important. Another way of thinking about this is, what is the true self? Go back to page 58. You see in the middle of the page there a discussion about a Brahman tree. You see here on the left a Brahman tree, a great big tree. Well, what is the Brahman tree really? Here you have a story about a father and a son talking about what is real. And the father tells the son to take a seed. You see a seed of a banyan tree right here. And you notice the seeds are almost invisible. You can't really see them. And the father says, "What do you see there?" The son replies, "Not anything, sir." The father said, I'm reading from the middle of page 58, "That is the subtle essence which you do not perceive. So the invisible seeds inside the seeds of the banyan tree are like the invisible Atman that is the essence of you. The you is not anything. The real you is not your likes and dislikes. In my case, chocolate and Mac computers and my Prius and my money and my house and so forth and so on. I wanted the idea of retirement. I don't know if I can now with the downturn in the economy, etc. But that's not the real you. The real you is invisible. It is the self. Last paragraph of that reading. It is the self, and thou, Usvedakenu, art it. That's King James English. I don't know why they have to use King James English here to make it sound real spiritual. But to put it in modern English, you are the real self. But so is everybody else. So don't get, an inflated head here. We're not saying that you are the most important thing in the universe. We're saying that the real heart of reality, the real self, is this invisible Atman at the center of everything. So every human being has this Atman. Trees, snakes, the sun, the moon, the stars. The coronavirus is part of Atman. Everything is Atman. And, going back to the previous slide, Atman is Brahman. When you realize, let's put together these last two bullets here. When you realize that what is real is the true self. In other words, what has reality is not your individual likes or dislikes. What has reality is the true self, and this reality is identical with Brahman. When you understand that, you're free, because you've given up your attachment to your individual likes and dislikes, your individuality, and who you think you are. I say more about this on the middle of page 59. Realize that the true self is really identical with the unity of the whole cosmos. The Hindu language for this was Atman is Brahman. The true reality behind your self, not your individual self, but the true self, that is universal reality. And when you understand that, you are free. Let me, in conclusion, illustrate this with a diagram. So everything in the world is separated. Right now, the Democrats and Republicans are fighting over a stimulus package. So the Democrats have one idea because they want to bring in some new aspects that the Republicans don't want in. So you have over here the Democrats and over here the Republicans. This is a situation called dualism. We have two opposed forces. These arrows represent stimuli, stuff coming from the outside. Taste, sounds, feelings, emotions, okay? Things you like and dislike, that they come at you. People, sights, sounds, music you like, music you hate. And this creates things being opposed to each other. They're opposites. These are two opposite spheres. Okay? That's a state of dualism. How do we overcome that dualism? Well, the first thing we do is to engage in an ascetic lifestyle. We let go of the stimuli. Get rid of all that outside garbage. So let go of foods you love. Give up holding on to particular music that you really dislike and you abhor. You don't want to listen to that, but okay, it doesn't matter anymore. You let go of the external stimuli. Then you need to empty yourself. You need to give up your self-identity. Give up your emotions, your feelings about Trump, or your feelings about the Democrats, or your feelings about coronavirus, or your worries about what's going to happen to your family. And just, you empty yourself. Notice the idea that what's happening here is you're emptying your self-identity. You're emptying this stuff inside of you. So in a sense, there's now nothing there. There's nothing from the outside. There's nothing from the inside. You're empty. There's nothing there. Because there's nothing there, these two realities can, if you want to speak of it in this way, merge. They can come together. Because there's nothing opposing them. So somehow if the Democrats can give up what they believe in and what they think is important, and the Republicans can give up what they believe in, what they think is important, then somehow they can all become one. This is a state called non-dualism. The way to achieve moksha is to let go of everything you like and dislike, let go of all your stimuli, let go of all your desires, let go of all your wants and needs, and recognize your unity with the cosmos. Recognize that everything is ultimately one, non-dualistic. When you can truly do that, that is moksha. You are free. You are liberated. And that is what freedom is. Here we have what might be an embodiment of a person trying to achieve moksha. This is a modern ascetic, someone who is self-denying. He's a yogi. We'll talk more about what the word yogi means later, but notice he's sitting there with plain clothes, simple minimal garb. He's in what is called the lotus posture. Lotus, L-O-T-U-S. He's sitting there. The hands are in what are called O-M, the Om. That's the sacred sound that we talked about earlier when we were talking about Shiva and Parvati. It is believed to be the sound of the universe. And so he's sitting there trying to quiet the mind. He's giving up his physical needs, and he's trying to move towards a state of moksha. So that is moksha, liberation. Let's review what we've discussed so far in Hinduism. So we began with the class system. Everybody has a particular role in life. Remember that class system was divided up into caste, job, subclassifications. Everybody has a distinct and particular role in life based on what your father was. That role in life is justified by your karma. You deserve it. You ought to be there. Because of your karma, you are on this wheel of life, because as you continue to act, you'll get new karma. No matter how good the karma is, you will keep acting. You will get more karma, and you will be trapped on the wheel of life. So we have the problem, how do we escape from the wheel of life? We escape from the wheel of life by giving up our desires. We become like this an ascetic here, sitting all day, doing nothing, wanting nothing, needing nothing, giving up everything, surrendering your identity, surrendering your sense of the importance of the you. There is no real you here, because the only you is the Atman that is identical with every other Atman. And if every Atman is identical with every other Atman, it's simply Brahman. It's part of the cosmic reality of the universe. And that's what is. Now, before we stop today, let me make this comment. This creates another problem. So notice how we have solutions, creating problems, creating solutions. And this keeps going over and over again. Now here's the problem. How can you do your social duties and still achieve moksha? This man here is probably not going to have any babies. He's not going to have he doesn't need a family. Maybe he's probably already had his family. That's another issue. But let's ignore the fact of what he's done in the past. He's not going to have a family. He's not going to have babies. He's not going to have children. He doesn't need a job. He doesn't not need to earn a living, etc., etc., etc. He wants to be free. But how do you keep society going? That's the problem we're facing right now with the coronavirus. If everyone's sitting at home, then how do we keep the economy going? Very similar problem. In this case, how do they achieve moksha? We need to look at a new problem and a new solution, and that is what we will deal with next time.